find out where they at, what's going on with them. Just listen. You know, child, never really did like to talk too much. Me, myself, these stories got enough in them to speak for themselves.
Oh, yes, Anna Devere Smith, the remarkable actress who's on Nurse Jackie now on television. She was performing in Swimming Upstream, a testimony, a prayer, a hallelujah, an incantation, which is directed by Eve Ensler. The play will be performed on September 10th at the Mahalia Jackson Theater in New Orleans, on September 13th at the Apollo Theater in New York. Today on Democracy Now!, for the first time since she has been treated for cancer, Eve Ensler is joining us. Oh, she's done interviews. She's been heard, just not seen. And we're thrilled to host her here on Democracy Now! Eve Ensler, the founder of V-Day, the global movement to end violence against girls and women, also a best-selling author, the playwright behind the Vagina Monologues. Her latest book is called I Am an Emotional Creature, The Secret Life of Girls Around the World. She's spending the hour with us to talk about Hurricane Katrina, her work in the Democratic Republic of Congo, as well as her fight with cancer. Earlier this year, she was diagnosed with uterine cancer. Eve Ensler, welcome to Democracy Now! What a way to introduce you.
Oh, thank you. I can't think of a better place to be for the first time than with you, Amy. So happy to be here.
Well, to see your work being dramatized by these remarkable actresses, talk about Swimming Upstream.
Well, it's actually their work. I had the privilege for a year to go down to New Orleans once a month and be in a room with 16 artists, Mardi Gras dancers, gospel singers, community activists who came together to basically tell their stories, to have their feelings, to create a community, and to create this glorious piece called Swimming Upstream. I had originally, right after the flood, gone down to New Orleans to see what I could do, and I thought maybe I'd create a piece. And then I met this extraordinary woman named Carol Bebel, who's head of the Ashe Cultural Center, which is kind of the center of culture in New Orleans. And I went and said, I'd really like to interview people and write a piece. And she looked at me and she said, would you do something else? Would you not write the piece? And would you work with all the women here so they could write a piece, so their voices could be heard? And I was like, done. Done. What an honor. And it really was one of the greatest privileges of my life to sit for a year in a room where women, in a really raw, truthful, passionate, accurate way, told their stories and told the stories of the people they loved and met and interviewed of what happened during, before, and after the flood. And I think what happened slowly is this amazing community evolved of performers. But more importantly, I think they put this work and the stories into these extraordinary words and music that have now become this piece called Swimming Upstream.
And so this decision to perform this, have this performed in Harlem, at the Apollo, and at the Mahalia Jackson Theater in New Orleans. What we just saw was on the 10th anniversary of V-Day, when everyone was in the Superdome, this remarkable reclaiming that you all did in the Superdome in New Orleans.
Yes, it was an amazing experience. We, with the community of New Orleans, and actually thousands of activists around the world, we took back the Superdome and made it a Super Love. And it was an amazing event. 40,000 people came. And that particular performance, I think there were between 5,000 and 10,000 people there. But I think one of the reasons we chose to do it on the 5th anniversary is obviously so we never forget. But for many people, obviously in the Gulf South, particularly since the BP spill, and after the flood, you know, things are rough. They haven't, you know, people are in great struggle. And as resilient and amazing as the people are in New Orleans, we need not forget that they need support, they need resources, they need attention, and they need love from the rest of the people in this country. And I think putting this on in Harlem and in New Orleans at the Mahalia Jackson Theater is a reminder to all of us that art has the power to keep generating memory, to keep generating legacy, to keep history alive, so we don't repeat what was done in that incredibly cruel and horrible way in New Orleans.
I want to go to Kerry Washington in a performance of Swimming Upstream.
If I had a gun, it would serve as my point of meditation. And I would look at it and re-remember Harriet Tubman's steely whisper and Nanny's ear-splitting yell, Ida B. Wells's unrelenting voice and Fannie Lou Hamer's unwavering glare. I'd remember Nat Turner's plot and Toni Morrison's advice, and when I shot my gun, my target would be well planned, my aim precise. I would know exactly who to shoot and when and where to shoot them and how many of their friends needed to be shot too. And when they were dead, when they were all dead, so would be oppression, globalism, neocolonialism, government, capitalism, enslavement, corporations, greed, hunger, hate, religion, war, poverty, cruelty. No, it can't be too soon for me the day I get my gun.
Kerry Washington performing Swimming Upstream, and again it will be performed in New Orleans and in Harlem on September 10th and September 13th. Eve, you have spent a long time working on Katrina in different ways, also raising money for groups in New Orleans.
Yes, and we're doing this thing right now. When we did Vita the 10th, we were able to leave, I think, about $1 million as a result of that performance in the community. And we gave, I think, 48 scholarships to what we called Katrina Warriors, individual women who were community activists doing extraordinary work in the community. And we're now going to do a mailing where we've asked them to update and show what they've been doing in the last 5 years. And I have to say, I've been reading the updates this week as they come in, and really it is community activists, and particularly women community activists, who have kept New Orleans alive. I mean, they are the ones who, you know, had their doors open, like Carol B. Bell at Ashe, where people could come for refuge. They are the ones who are keeping education alive. They are the ones who are keeping children in safe places and the buildings continuing. And just reading the updates, you know, here they are with so little resources, but their hearts and their spirits and their desire to keep New Orleans the amazing place that New Orleans has always been. And I think that's been the most moving part of this journey, is the reminder that it's people, right, who keep the world spinning and going.
You know, these clips that we've been playing are from the 10th anniversary, I keep saying, of V-Day that you did at the Superdome. Explain what V-Day is.
Well, V-Day is a global movement to end violence against women and girls that grew out of my play, The Vagina Monologues, because when I did the play initially, everywhere I went on the planet, women would literally line up after the show. And at first I thought, oh great, they're going to be telling me about their wonderful orgasms and their great sex lives, and I can add it to the show. And in fact, 95% of the women were lining up to tell me how they'd been raped or battered or incested or abused. And I, of course, knew there was violence against women. I'm a survivor myself of rape and battery. But I had no idea the epidemic proportions. I had no idea that 1 out of 3, that's a UN statistic, 1 out of 3 women on the planet will be raped or beaten in their lifetime. You know, and suddenly this door opened for me. And I began to understand that violence against women is central to everything. You know, if you are destroying the female population,